Hello, everybody. Welcome to 1v1 here on Boss Rush Games. I am your host, Eddie V, the one, the only, that retro code. Thank you guys for joining me. I have a amazing and excited and exquisite guest. I've been talking to this person for a while. I found his work online through Twitter, and like everything he's posted when he talks about games, how he gets hyped. He used to be in the city, and I used to just look at all the food that he eat, all the places that he go, all the games that he play, and I was just like, I love him. I need to be friends. Like, he is completely amazing person. He's the previous features editor at Twinfinite, but currently he is lead guys at GameRant, and he is the podcast host of Positive Players Podcast. Everybody, please welcome the one, the only, Mr. Greysun Morales. Hello, good sir.
Oh my god, that was like, I'm like sweating right now with that introduction. I feel like I'm about to like walk on an Oprah or something right now, and everyone's just gonna start like cheering, like, oh my god. No, thank you. That was very kind. Those words that you just said. Yeah. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. We've been, like you said, we've been interacting for quite some time on Twitter. So, I used to live in Chicago, so we both used to be in the same city, but not anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, I did eat a lot of food. I always eat a lot of food. You were right on that one.
We was talking on our PlayStation podcast about Chicago style hot dogs, just hot dogs in general, and I was talking to them about if you do Chicago style hot dog, you have to have Vienna, because everywhere you went, it was always Vienna, and you know the hot peppers, the onions, the long pickle. I have to ask you a question. Did they put mustard on it too with the sides?
I'm pretty sure mustard's like a default when you ask for it, when you ask for the hot dog, which I personally don't. The only thing I take off are the peppers. I just can't do anything spicy. But I do keep the mustard, even though I'm not a big mustard fan. But everything just always tastes good together. Like all that stuff you said, like it's a perfect combination. I love, and you're right, you cannot have it without that specific type of hot dog, because the minute you change it to something, it's not the same. Like it's not the same.
Now, did you do the bread with the seeds or not the seeds?
Yeah, it's usually the seeds.
Okay.
Like the poppy seeds, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah, or sesame seeds, whatever they are.
Yes. Because I when I go to the city and I get one, I would get those and then a Sprite, and I'd be good to go. You know, I still haven't found any good fries to go with it though.
Yeah, fries are. There are some places in Chicago that do like they're not regular fries, but they're like kind of, I don't know what, like they're very salty and they're like almost orange colored, like that, and those taste really good.
I think it's called Jewtown, not to be stereotypical, but that was the name of the place. Because I think it was off of Madison. There was like
downtown.
I think so, but it's like a little bit further up. It's one of the not the Staples Center. It's one of the centers that's there. Like they have concerts and stuff. There's a place that you park on the side and you're still by the highway. And across from it used to be like these food places. So you get like a pork chop sandwich, a burger and fries. And they got like the best fries. I cannot think of the name. My sister, she's my GPS when I come to the city when I'm driving. But we would go there. I would always get a cheeseburger and fries and a drink, and she would get like her pork chop sandwiches. And I think they are the best place to get fries at. I cannot find anywhere else for it. You know, I used to actually drive to the cities just to go to White Castle.
Oh my god, dude! I have definitely Uber Eats like White Castle at least 4 times in my house, and it was usually like at fucking like, oh, can I curse?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. It was usually like at 11 or like midnight, you know, around that time. I'm like, oh, I just want something garbage right now, and it's so cheap too.
Yes, like White Castle is the spot in the city. Like we have one here, and it was okay, but it was just like if you want the good food, you was in the city. You might go to Church's Chicken or Harold's, depending on what you like. But I was always hitting like White Castle. I never seen an Arby's in a Popeyes in the city or a KFC.
There are Popeyes around and KFC because I used to live by Popeyes. Arby's is it's so funny you mention that because I never seen Arby's in Chicago, but since I moved to Denver, like they're everywhere. And I think I've been there like once when I was like a teenager or something.
Mm-hmm.
But who was it? Oh, Zombie Kills actually? She was saying how like Arby's is like her favorite fast food place. I'm like, I need to try this place out. So I'm gonna try to eat there one of these days because it's by our apartment here. So it's just like roast beef and stuff. So I'm just like, I don't know if I want that from a fast food place. It's just kind of sketchy, like iffy to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, we have an Arby's by our house, like 5 minutes. It's not bad. I think you would like the curly fries and stuff. And the mozzarella sticks. The sandwiches you could take or leave it. Like I think you should just get a classic and see if you like it, like the roast beef and the cheese and the bread. See if you like it. If you get full, like halfway eating the burger, then it's done its job, I should say.
Do they have shakes at Arby's?
Yes, they do.
I'm about to like go to Arby's and literally just get like mozzarella sticks and onion rings and fries and call it a day probably because that's what sounds the most appealing to me. And like roast beef with cheese.
They do have shakes. Normally when it comes like with March and McDonald's have their mint flavor shake.
The Shamrock shake.
The Shamrock shake. Yeah. Arby's does the Andes mint. They do their shake right there. So it's Andes mint pieces with the mint, and then it's the mint flavor of the shake, and it's really, really good.
Sounds good.
Yes, but you're the one that told me about the ramen, I think.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm obsessed with ramen. Chicago.
Okay. I need to know all the ramen spots, where to go to get some, because I am on a mission this year. Hopefully, when COVID, get itself together and we could like really travel and stuff, I want to take the train down to the city and find the ramen spots because I want to try pho. I want to try like ramen. I want to try the sushi in Chicago. Like there's so much Asian food that I want to try. And I feel like you are the master of knowing where to go and what to do.
Yeah, I mean, so for ramen, like my favorite like go-to spot is always Oyster, and that's in Wicker Park. And Wicker Park is like, a little bit west of downtown.
Okay.
That's like the blue line. And then ramen, like there's a lot of ramen spots downtown, but a lot of them are hit or miss because they can look very cool and like great for going out with friends, but the ramen's not good at all. And there's some like little hidden gems in there you can find. Yeah, but Oyster is like my number one place for ramen. And then like Argyle, they have a big Asian community there. That's where they have a lot of boba. They have like a ton of pho places. They have is it Korean sandwiches?
Ooh.
I forgot what is it Korean? Banh mi? Yeah, banh mi, which is like a sandwich. It's like a piece of bread and they stuff meat inside and like vegetables and cabbage and stuff.
Ooh.
That's actually pretty good if you have like a nice sauce. But yeah, go to Argyle. That's on the red line. And you can go to Chinatown and get like everywhere in Chinatown is good. Like all these restaurants.
Now, where is Chinatown? Is that downtown? Is that across?
South of downtown.
South of downtown.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like one. You leave downtown, it's like one stop over. It's very easy to get to. It's not like in a bad area or anything.
Okay. And what about poke bowls? Because I think I tried one from a supermarket and I think I did it wrong. Like, how am I supposed to eat a poke bowl? I never know like what to add or what to do. Poke bowls was never explained to me.
That's something I'm also not really into. I think I've had it once and I'm just like I'm not a big sushi person either. So it's like the idea of just deconstructed sushi. I'm just like, well, I mean, and it's expensive. Like when you go to like those shops that only sell that, it's like pretty pricey. So I was like, you know what, this isn't for me. It doesn't really taste that good and it's expensive. So, yeah, that's not my. That's like the one thing I don't like in Chicago. There's a lot of those places. I'm like, I'm not really a fan.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into the show. What I want to start with is where did gaming start for you? Like how did you get into playing video games and everything?
Oh man, I mean, like when people ask me like my first memories, I always go back to the first time I got a Game Boy and like Pokemon Red, which would be like what 1998, I think, 97, 98 around there. Yeah, so I was like 5 years old. I was born in 93, so I was like maybe 5, turning 6 around that age.
Oh my goodness, I'm so young.
Yeah.
so old. For everybody know that when you said 93, I was 13 at that age. I'm like,
You look my age, I feel like, so yeah.
I think that's a compliment.
What was I going to say? Yeah, Pokemon Red. That was pretty much like my first big RPG, my first time like really diving deep into a video game. I mean, you got like annoyed by that, but when I see people on Twitter like, oh, I was like, like this game that came out like 2010, they were like 5. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like Super Mario Galaxy is my first game. I'm like, oh no, stop it! You're killing me. And they don't know what like a Game Boy is. I'm like, oh my god.
I remember getting a Game Boy when it first came out, I think in '89. And I remember it having Tetris and Super Mario Land. And I played Tetris so much that I somehow messed up the down button on the directional pad. So I couldn't press down for a lot of it. So I couldn't say nothing about it. I just continued to play games that way that didn't have a down, and try to not be able to duck in a Mario game is ridiculously crazy.
Yeah, that's like a Dark Souls style speed run.
Exactly. But when I got my Game Boy Color, I was able to fix all of that. And definitely, like you mentioned Pokemon Red. I did Pokemon Blue. And I used to be in bed every night watching All in the Family, playing for hours, grinding and learning that game.
That game was just like, and it kind of shaped the games I would end up liking now. You know what I mean? I still like Pokemon and JRPGs and stuff, and Nintendo's like my favorite, developer. You said Tetris too. My mom is not like she doesn't play video games at all. Yeah. But I had Tetris for my Game Boy, and I have memories of my mom and me like sitting in a doctor's office or something, and her playing Tetris on my Game Boy, and me like asking her for it back. Like that game was so good. And Super Mario Land as well. I played a lot. Pokemon Pinball and a lot of bad games. Like I had a Dr. Evil game on Game Boy, which was like, yeah. There was like a bunch of Austin Powers licensed games back then, probably just to make some money. But there was this like, I think it was a puzzle game too with Dr. Evil, and I had it for Game Boy, and I was like 6 and playing this game, 7 years old. It's probably inappropriate. I don't know, but. Yeah, that game and Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening.
Yeah. Game Boy was fantastic. Like, I had a green one too. I think it was my first one.
I had when I got my Super Nintendo and I had the Super Game Boy Advance. That literally changed my life. Like my Game Boy, in a way, it's the Switch thing where Game Boy was everywhere I go with the game. But when I was home, I'm playing my Game Boy games on my TV, on my Super Nintendo, for it, like playing Ninja Turtles. It's funny that you mentioned Tetris because my mom was a big Tetris player on the regular Nintendo. My mom, she played Super Mario Brothers 3. She didn't like 2. She never played 2.
Nobody did.
But she ended up buying a Wii U to play. What? So she ended up, I ended up buying a Wii, and I gave it to my mom because I ended up getting the black Wii. And she ended up buying New Super Mario Brothers herself. And you know how all the save spots are in there? She got everything 100% done. Like she beat the game multiple times. Yeah, she called me to do some of the hard stuff, and then I would give her the controller, and she was just gonna play. She bought a Wii U just to play New Super Mario Brothers U and beat it all. I brought the DLC with Luigi's Mansion, and she beat it all. Um,
Wow, that's
she got
hardcore.
she got Animal Crossing and paid her whole house within 3 weeks of having the game. I was just like, what are you doing? Like, I'm still trying to give
I
up
still have a
my-
tent in Animal Crossing. Like I
Yeah,
barely have. Like yeah, that's great. I mean, but she doesn't play anything else. Like she just plays like that. That's
she
it.
has she has her own Switch, and she plays the Mario Brothers games, and she has an iPhone now, but she did Super Mario Run on it. She likes the little bit mobile games, but she will play a Mario game in a
That's cool.
heartbeat. And I did buy her Animal Crossing, so but I don't know if she's working on that just yet.
Oh,
Um,
that's
you know,
cool. I wish my
so
mom played games.
you know, well, that's cool. So now I want to know, where did writing start for you? Because like I said, you previously was the features editor at Twinfinite, and now you doing the lead guys at GameRant. But when did you start getting into like writing about games and for games?
So it actually kind of like fell into my lap. It wasn't something I was sort of actively looking for. Like I was reading, I was in the industry in terms of like I was reading IGN all the time when I was in high school. I was reading GameSpot. I was reading reviews. I was like down with embargoes. Like I knew how like everything worked, you know, but I never really thought about writing specifically until like 2014 or 2015. It's like 5, 6 years ago, I think I started.
Uh-huh.
I started writing for this very small site that's no longer a thing. I think it was called WTF Gamers Only. Very, very small independent site. They were looking for contributors through their Instagram, and I was scrolling through Instagram one day. I saw that they were looking for writers, and I was like, hey, that's cool. Why not? Let me try this out. And I sent like my sample article and wrote it up. And yeah, from then I started writing for that site, and I made some of my closest friends were people who I wrote with at that website, and people who I got to meet in person when I went to E3 for the first time, like in 2015. And it was just like we didn't have any rules. It was just like we were writing whatever the hell we wanted. Nobody was barely editing our stuff. I wasn't really like I was learning, how to write, become a better writer, but it was more like a collaborative thing where we were all just writing what we wanted to do and like kind of gave each other edits sometimes, but there was no one really leading us per se. And I wrote there for like 2 years, I think, or over 2 years. Just I was doing my normal stuff, like my day job. I was working at Starbucks, going to school or whatever. And I was just write, and I would write the most out of all of us, like just, and we didn't get anything, I wasn't getting paid. It was purely volunteer. And I would write, a couple articles a week, and I would do it more and more and more and more. And I was like, hey, I actually really like doing this. And after doing that for like 2 years, that's when I actually applied to Twinfinite because I saw that they were looking for contributors, and I got hired for Twinfinite, which was like 20. Oh man, years just go by. I want to say 2017. I started early 2017 because I was covering the Switch when it came out. That's why I remember that. Yeah, and I was a contributor at Twinfinite, writing, improving, getting better and better as a writer. I ended up getting promoted to a news reporter for a couple months, which is when I started getting paid for writing stories for them. And then they had an opening for a features editor position. So I was just kind of in the right place at the right time. My bosses, they came to me and they wanted to give me the position. So like, hey, I took that, and that was when I officially kind of like was able to work full time and not have like a day job in the video game industry, which was really cool. And that was like 2 years ago now. And yeah, and then now I got hired at GameRant. So that happened, as you know. I consider myself kind of like lucky because I'm sure you see all these games industry people, like they put in work, these freelancers, you know what I mean? Like they're writing for this site, they're writing for this site, they're writing for this site and this site and this site. And I kind of got lucky by like, hey, I was a contributor for Twinfinite, only Twinfinite, and I worked really hard and they've noticed me, and I got promoted. And GameRant, I had a special opportunity that fell into my lap, and I took the opportunity just because I wanted to change. It's like a fresh experience, and like I just feel weird sometimes because I've never had the opportunity or like never really have the experience of like actually freelancing and like pitching features to IGN and pitching features to GameSpot and Kotaku and Polygon. I just kind of like did my own thing this way, and it worked out for me. So yeah, it's writing is just kind of like, I feel like it wasn't something I was good at before, but I've started just by writing a lot. I got better at it and just improved based on getting notes from my editors and things like that. So yeah, it's not something I originally like. Oh, I want to be a games reporter or like a games journalist. It's just like kind of it happened sort of thing.
Even though I'm like, I haven't pitched anything to like IGN or like GameSpot, like no big companies and stuff. I think, as a kid, for me, I have been into books and reading so much. And when it came to writing and everything, and learning about creative writing, it came to oneup.com where blogs was introduced and people were able to put their blogs out. And I can tell you right now, I'm not good at English. My thoughts leave my head, and sometimes my stuff look like, what in the world am I talking about? My thoughts are different than what I actually write. But I was fortunate enough, even though I didn't get paid or anything, I was fortunate enough to have some of my articles on VentureBeat to be published for the community stuff. Cool. And it's a different feeling when you are a creator and you get to put your content out there and people get to watch it and see it, and you sit back and you just like, okay, did anyone read it? Did anyone take notice? And that's awesome that people took notice of your work. Like, that's really cool. I don't know if anyone's ever going to take notice of my work or anything, but I always get a thrill when people read my stuff and I get that feedback. Like, I've never had it. Right now on Boss Rush Games, I do a lot of writing, but it's open up to all of us to write stuff. And I've never had an editor to edit my stuff. I've never had anyone direct me and like, okay, you should make your stuff look like this. My stuff has to be like, this sounds right. I don't know if it's personal or anything. Type and put it out there for the masses to read. But now I have people who help me edit stuff, and my work has been better and everything. So it's really, I know what you mean. Like, you put in the work out there, and when people really take notice, they appreciate your work, and you have these opportunities and everything. Because I wouldn't be able to write a feature and everything, or be able to. I probably could, but I wouldn't be able to have that opportunity because I'd be like, what do I write? What do I want people to notice and take interest of? Because like when I do my writing, I do my blogs and stuff, it's always something that's part of the industry, but outside stuff that we don't talk about.
I mean, those topics are awesome to bring up though, because we don't get too many of those topics. And it's like we get the same things over and over again. So I feel like there are tons of websites out there who would gladly accept a pitch like that, because I think it's unique, whatever it is. And it's like, it's not just about video games, it's about how video games like affect our lives and stuff. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Kotaku and Polygon, they would totally accept something like that. So I feel like you shouldn't be afraid to pitch if that's like something you would like to do,
Well,
because all they can do is say no.
Right.
Or not even respond.
Exactly. One of mine that I just really that I released like a couple of weeks back was, I was talking about EA and Nintendo should end their business relationship, because I feel like EA really doesn't want to support Nintendo, but they want to support. But they know that if they would treat Nintendo fair like Microsoft and Sony, I think they would be rewarded well. But EA just like kind of cheats Nintendo out. And I know one of my friends on Boss Rush is just like, I'm assuming this you mad at EA because Switch didn't get the Mass Effect trilogy. I was just like, no. I'm like, that may be part of it. I'm like, some of that is part of it. Who knows what's in the future? But EA is not sticking to their word. They believe that if they have a bigger audience, they could put their product out and, people will enjoy their games. Well, Nintendo has a big audience now, so why are they still being ignored? in a sense. And so when I wrote it, I was writing from a point of view of being a disappointed gamer and more EA. And I know EA and Nintendo says they have a good business relationship, but it's not shown or anything.
No.
So
I mean,
when you're, oh, go ahead.
Wasn't that FIFA game? What was the game that just came out that IGN reviewed because it was literally they gave it the same score, the same
FIFA
review
21.
because yeah, it's like EA wants these. It's like EA is just shitting out these sports games like half-assed, watered down, and they're like, why aren't people buying your games? It's like, well, you're putting out shit and you're expecting people to buy it because there's a lot of people in the market, but that's not how it works. You got to put out a quality product, and it's like you said, they might as well not support the Switch at all if they're not gonna put out the same quality games on the platform, you know.
And I have this discussion with some people about EA, and actually about third parties with Nintendo. Definitely with Switch, it's just like, of course, indies are building stuff up and putting their stuff, but why can't third parties get Nintendo's systems or development kits and be able to make original content from their cells? Why do you have to give it to a port house to put it on their consoles? You have engineers and softwares who are smart enough to do this. So why are you not able to be able to put this out? And writing about stuff like that is something that may anger people or anything, but it causes more for discussion than it's angering out. And I don't know if you ever had that. Have you ever put a piece out where it's more for discussion and not to anger anybody?
Nothing that comes to mind really, because I Twinfinite, like my features weren't really like I didn't really write like too in-depth personal topics. They were more like fun, lighthearted stuff. Yeah, nothing I can think of actually.
Have you ever wanted to, or have you ever felt like?
Yeah, for sure. There's been times where like I wanted to write something, but I just didn't know how to put it into words. At the time, like stuff about like I did manage to write something, but like something that comes to mind is like I wrote a piece about Life is Strange 2, and how it like about how it tackles like racism and like this being a Hispanic person in America in 2020 and stuff like that. And I forgot what I wrote, like what actually like argued, but people got like I had a lot of negative comments saying I'm an SJW, whatever. I'm like pushing progressive, all this shit. Like I want characters to be gay. People think I want all characters to be Hispanic, and it's like, no, I just want more representation. You get people are like that all the time. That's like the one thing I can think of where I wrote something and I wanted to kind of put more of my heart into it, but I just like kind of left it not shallow, but not too heavy or like not too controversial. It was like kept it like at a base level.
I think for me, it's like when I sometimes write stuff like that, I want to push the envelope, and I know I may get someone might not read it, but someone may be mad at me because I said it. But my thing has always been, well, hey, talk to me about it because my stuff is out there. I could podcast. We could be on Skype. We know each other, or not even if we don't podcast, you have the freedom to write a different opinion, a different viewpoint. And it surprises me that and this kind of happens for every writer, it's amazing to see that people would not take your piece and write something opposite of it. They don't have to mention you, but they should be able to do the research and be able to write a piece that goes against what you're saying, but in their own style. And I think a lot of people don't do that. It's just easier to say something in the comment section and move on. Yeah. It's a review score of gaming in a sense, where people could yell at someone who has played the game in full and who has talked about it and review it. But if you have the opportunity, like even Metacritic, like if you had the opportunity to review a game and give it a score, you should be able to do that. But put it out where people could be just as judgmental as you are when professional writers are doing reviews that you are calling out. You get what I'm saying in a sense?
Yeah, I get that.
So, were gaming magazines part of your gaming journey?
Gaming magazines?
Yeah, like with
Yes.
writing and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So I was subscribed to Nintendo Power for a couple of years when I was a kid, which was like the best times of my life, waiting like for that mail to come in and like reading those pages and like because I at that time I didn't really have a computer, I didn't use it often. So that was like my source for a lot of Nintendo stuff, or like these like nice crisp pages of like screenshots of like a new Zelda game or like in reviews and stuff. And it's like as a kid, I was like blowing my mind, like reading, oh my god, this game was announced or this game's coming out. Like, oh, I have to buy this game, and like that influenced a lot of my purchases back then. I'm like, oh, I'm getting this DS game or I'm getting this Wii game or whatever because Nintendo Power told me to. And then yeah, I read Game Informer a lot too, back when I was like in college, maybe like early 20s. But I stopped subscribing now. Yeah, I love gaming magazines. They're awesome. They're so cool.
I'm still part of Game Informer, like subscribe to them. But like Electronic Gaming Monthly, like was my Bible. That and Game
Yeah.
for were my Bible. While I was every time I went to Walgreens, I would run to the magazine section and pick it up and try to show my mom, hey, it's only $5 a month. You know, I didn't subscribe. Like she would pay it, she would give it to me, and when I got home, I would read like back and forth, like everything. Um, and my mom was surprised that, like, yeah, it is about games and stuff, but I love reading the articles. I love knowing what is going around in the world because, like, I didn't know stuff, and I didn't know the gaming culture in Japan. And
Mhm.
EGM was like my, were my eyes to, like, in a sense, to see that because I was just like, oh, this is how I'm learning about PlayStation. This is how I'm learning about Sega Saturn. What's going on with the PlayStation 3? Like EGM was every month was like my Bible. Now you have interviewed various peoples. How was those moments? Like
Nerve-wracking. Oh man, yeah, I get so nervous doing stuff like that. Because I'm just like, it's nervous getting interviewed, and for me, it's nervous interviewing people where like, you know, you just don't know what you're gonna like say, or like you don't want to mess up or say something stupid, and you're like, I'm like trying to record their voice and like talk and ask questions and write stuff down at the same time or play a game, and it's like it's a lot of nerves like going on. I get like anxiety from it, but they are always very fun. You know, I would prefer an interview like by email, which are fun to do, but yeah, the ones in person I've done, and they're a lot of fun. Like I think my first time was this last, not E3, not this year. There was no E3. Last year, 2019.
yeah.
Right? Yeah, I had like 3 interviews or 4, and it was like, oh, I was so stressed out because I got to interview the creative director of Watch Dogs Legion because I played like a demo of that at
Oh,
E3.
nice.
Clint Hawking, that's his name, and then I got to preview Control as well, and that was probably one of my better experiences because I was like in a nice room with one of the writers and one of the designers, I think. And instead of like an interview, it was more like I was playing the game for like 40 minutes and I was recording everything and we were just kind of talking. I was asking them questions, so it was like very laid back and chill. No, yeah, interviews are really fun. Like I love whenever I get the opportunity to do them because it's like it's cool putting it out like when it's published because it's like it's original content.
Yeah.
And it's like that's my story. Like I've seen I did an Ninjala interview at Twinfinite. I got to talk to like the CEO of that company that makes that game.
Oh, nice.
When I talked to him, it was like he's Japanese, so it was like by email and it got translated or whatever. But I discovered that like this Ninjala like YouTuber did a whole video about my interview, and I saw that like a couple months ago, and I'm like, oh shit, this is so cool. And he had like a lot of views, and he mentioned my name. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. And the comments were all positive, like, oh, great interview, that's awesome. Those are such good questions. And I'm like, oh my god, that's like one of the coolest things that's happened to me. And then now I follow him on Twitter, and he follows me too, like that YouTuber. So yeah, it's like cool putting out original content and then like being able to talk to game developers. You know, it's so interesting, like hearing how everything works and like how the game was created and like their thought process on things and everything. It's awesome.
Me and my friend Larry, we host another podcast called World War One Podcast, and we got to talk to the developers of Yacht Club for Shovel Knight.
Oh, it's awesome.
And it was what was cool about it is just like it felt like we knew them for years, and vice versa. Because we was laughing, we was talking. We of course we broke down. Uh, we was talking about Shovel Knight, but we had a conversation about Mega Man and Castlevania, and it
Oh,
was it
oh,
was so good. And talking a little bit about Way Forward and everything, and it was just like I think when you meet different developers and musicians and creators and just talk to them, uh, when everybody's kind of like on the same level in a sense, it feels like you know this person for years, even though you meet them for the first time. You know?
yeah, that's so true. Like games people, like developers, they're always usually so kind and like they're just showing you their game and they're so happy with their game and it just makes me feel so good and they're feeling good and they're scared about showing it, but like I'm also nervous about playing it next to them. It's like such a wholesome experience. Like I remember playing you know Boyfriend Dungeon, like the indie game that's supposed to come out.
Yes, I'm ready. I want that to come out. I'm ready and excited
Yeah.
for that game.
I I played that at PAX last year, which I liked it a lot. It was really fun. And I told the community manager, she was there like showing us the game and stuff, and I was telling her like, oh, this game is it's so good, it's so much fun, and she's like, oh, thank you so much. And she's actually the community manager for Among Us team now.
Oh, okay.
So like, oh, I met her there for like a second. I'm like, oh, it's so cool that she does like she was at the Game Awards and stuff, like present when they were winning their Among Us stuff.
Uh,
So it's like so cool when you could give people like just tell people how much you like it and seeing their reactions. Like it's just like such a good moment.
and I know developers they probably feel nervous, like you said earlier, letting people try their stuff because I think they're more nervous about the response
Mm.
than it is when you're in that kind of environment. You should have anticipation to see how people are going to play my game, like how they're going to take it and stuff. And I think people get nervous to be like, what are they going to say if they don't like it? Then different things run through your head and stuff. And I wish I could go to PAX. I always wanted to go to PAX. If I ever go to a con in different places and people are there, um, having their game for people to try out, I will always go there and try it and like have a conversation with them, tell them the good things and stuff that I could see what could be worked on, because I feel like anything that you play at con is a work in progress. It's
Yeah.
not finished product and stuff. And so if they know that their game is janky, but the idea is there, you could tell them that, and to be like, yes, it has some problems, but I love the concept that you're going with. And I know you and the team are going to get it together. So when it comes out, it's going to be different than what I.
They would probably start crying if you told them that, because there are some games at PAX that are like very rough around the edges, and like they usually don't have anyone waiting in line to play it, and they're looking for people, and it's like those are the ones who really like need the inspiration, like the pep talk like that.
Right. And I think the feedback is not to hurt them, but to help them. To be like, I could see I think if you tell a developer that their concept is strong and they got something to do, when you go and you leave here and whatever feedback you wrote down and got, you and the team focus on it, clean it up, and be creative. Don't let us get to you, or like don't let our words feel like we're hurting you, because we really want to help you. Because the thing about it is, definitely in this age, and we are able to help developers really bring out their games. Definitely for Switch alone, we see a physical version on No Limit. Oh, No Limit, goodness, on limited run games. There's a possibility that we're going to have someone buying that game on limited run, and the Switch version would sell out more than the PS4 Xbox version, mostly the PS4. So, I think that's cool though. Has there ever been a point where it felt too much, like the writing, the interviewing, that you're just like, oh, I can't. I feel like I can't do this. Like, has it ever felt that way?
I mean, no, not to that extent. I think it's just, to me, there are times when I sort of get into like a rut where I feel like I'm constantly sort of repeating and doing the same thing over and over again, like a monotonous task or something.
Mhm.
And that definitely happened like this past year with COVID and stuff. Like got really depressed and stuff. I feel like a lot of people went through similar emotions. Um, and yeah, like there are times when like every time I think about like a new video game coming out, it would like stress me out, or like, oh my god, it's like it was crazy this past holiday season with like Cyberpunk and all these new console launches and stuff. I thought I was gonna have like a
Yeah.
heart attack with everything. Um, but no, I mean, I never been like, oh, it's too much for me. But there have been times I'm like, yeah, this is very stressful, but it's cool when you're working together with a team and you're all kind of going through the same things together. You don't feel like you're by yourself, like drowning. Someone's always there to like help you out at the end of the day. There are also times when I feel like I kind of need to change something because I'm a person who like really likes change. I don't like doing the same thing over and over again, which is like one of the reasons why I felt like I needed to transition to a different career or different job because I just nothing with Twinfinite. Like I loved working there. It's just like, hey, I need. It's a new year. This year sucked. I'm moving. I just kind of want something new, and like that's how I am. I'm just kind of it was just kind of taking the risk and like, okay, let's see how this works. If I don't like it, I'll find something else. But this is my first week of work and it's been great so far. So I'm happy with my position so far.
Yes. When times got rough, did you ever go back to a game that reminds you on why you love doing what you do?
Oh, like playing old games. I mean, playing anything on like Nintendo, to be honest. Um, like I love replaying like old 3D Mario games. Like I just replayed this 3D Mario collection that just came out on the Switch, which was like playing Super Mario Galaxy. I'm like, oh my god, like games are like I fucking love video games. Like that game is like perfect to me. Um, I'm trying to think of like other games I kind of go back to. I don't know. It's like I played a lot of video games, a lot of Nintendo games specifically around the DS and Wii era because I only had like a DS and I only had like a Wii and I didn't know anything about PlayStation 3 or like Xbox like 360s. I didn't get those till later on, like the end of their cycles. So like I had like a lot of years in my life where I just played Nintendo games and like DS and Wii games to me and like Game Boy Advance games too, I guess, are just like my essence. Like I played everything, like even the most obscure stuff. Like I played like I love Rhythm Heaven and like Elite Beat Agents.
Yes,
Pokemon.
yes.
Yeah. Like I love WarioWare and like yeah, just like any Nintendo game just kind of reminds me like about why I like writing about video games, why I like being in the video game space. Like, I like PlayStation as well. I love what they do, but like Nintendo just has this magic that just always makes me feel like a kid again. It's like there's something I just can't. I just love it so much. Like yeah, Nintendo games. You can't go wrong, really.
How was your time at Twinfinite?
Yeah, like I mentioned, it was a good time. I was there for a couple years, like writing as a contributor and working my way to my news reporter and the features editor. And I had a lot of fun, especially my like 2 years as features editor, because like I said, I got to do a lot of interviews at E3 and PAX, and I got to preview games and then write impressions features like very very quickly, like day of or day after. So it's very hectic at times, like especially during the conventions where I'm like running around like, oh, I have this appointment at 3 o'clock. And then I have to go to the other side of the convention at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock for this one. And like, I have to write this article and I have to eat eventually or drink water. I'm like, I'm dying. But no, like, I got to write a lot of fun stuff. At Twinfinite, I was kind of given permission to kind of do whatever I want, as long as it's not controversial or like, anything like hurtful or negative. So I wrote a lot of stupid, dumb, fun stuff. Which I think is kind of why they hired me for that position. Like they just wanted more fun stuff, more quirky things, like out of the box ideas for topics that we don't see often. Which it was great. It was a good time. Had a lot of laughs. Like as someone who's like not a strong writer, it just sort of suits me better to write like the fun features instead of like going. I'm not doing like deep dive analysis. I'm like 3,000 word long form feature. It was kind of like, I'm going to write, 500 words about people putting Baby Yoda on their Christmas trees. And that's great. And I can do that. And I can write about, I was like the Nintendo editor too, basically. I was the only one who really was invested in everything Nintendo. Where I was like, hey guys, like there's a indie direct or whatever tomorrow morning. I'm gonna help. I need some help covering it. And they're like, what? What is that? I'm like, oh, no, I got it. Don't worry, guys. I'll just take care of it myself.
On one of my, I think I did this on Twitter. I put like, I never would understand how people could play Bloodborne, give it praise, but cannot finish Super Mario Brothers or NES, or play Contra without the Contra code. It's amazing to me. And there someone was just like, because those games are old. I'm just like, but
Contra's hard though. Contra's hard as hell.
compared to Bloodborne.
Well, I feel like old games are harder in a different way. Where like they're just unfair. Where I feel like Demon Souls and Dark Souls and stuff. It's like
is it unfair, or is it because Bloodborne still has a safety net, and older retro games don't have a safety net?
yeah, like you have to start the entire game over most of the time. I mean that's why they did that back then, because they wanted people to play the game for a long time to make the game last, because people are paying like a lot of money for this like game that can complete it in like 20 minutes, but they make it, let's make it hard, and it'll take 10 and 20 hours to finish it. But now we have longer games, so I feel like I don't know. Yeah, old games are hard. That's my point I was trying to make.
And now that you are lead guys at GameRant, what is your goal for it?
Oh man, my goal. I mean, like my goal at GameRant specifically. What I'm trying to do. Yeah, so GameRant, they're growing very fast. I don't know if you know, but they are sister sites to The Gamer and ScreenRant. And there's one more I always forget. Collider, I think they have as well. There's 4 sites. And ScreenRant's like the big mama. That's their money maker right there. Like ScreenRant is huge. They do a lot of YouTube stuff, like millions of subscribers, and then their website gets like crazy amounts of traffic. But these other sites are a little bit smaller, and GameRant before now hasn't really had anyone focus on guides. They just mostly focus on lists and features and like news and stuff.
Yeah.
So guides was kind of like the weaker part of their, like the weaker branch, you know. So they wanted to find someone to kind of help bring it up off the ground. So they hired me. So I'm just trying to basically write more guides. That's like the bulk of my work, making sure that we hit a quota every day. And whether I'm writing or other people are writing the guides, I'm also editing a lot as well. And I haven't like done it yet, but soon, once I kind of get deeper into my job position, I'm going to eventually have the opportunity to hire freelancers to help me with guides as well for the site. And that's a responsibility I've never had. I've never like had the chance to hire people. So like having that role, it's like, oh God, I'm not like, this is too much. But no, it's I think it's going to be a great experience for me. And it's going to help me connect with a lot of freelancers who I know or who I don't know. And I could be like, hey, I'm looking for, like Monster Hunter Rise comes out and we need people on this. So I'm going to hire this guy and this guy or this girl to come help me, it sounds fun. And kind of having like a team of people to help cover like big releases. So yeah, I'm just trying to I'm helping GameRant become bigger and better and kind of pick their guides up off the floor and kind of like just go crazy with it. So
do you record your gameplay and stuff, like a capture card and stuff, and then go back, watch it, and then take notes?
No, we don't really do we don't do like walkthroughs really. Similar to Twinfinite, we don't do we just kind of do what's like trending articles or people are looking for. Okay. So we'll have one article about one certain quest in Assassin's Creed, or one article about like how to get this Pokemon in Pokemon Go, for example. So it's kind of my job to look up trends and seeing what's popping, throw out guides for other people to write, throw out guides, find guides for me to write every day. That's pretty much what it is so far. So it's a lot of fun. It's cool, like seeing what's popular, and I'm also learning a lot about games that I don't play at all. So kind of like having to watch like footage and like look up information and things. So that's been exciting. It's because I usually don't like doing that. So it's helping me break out of my shell a little bit in terms of my video game knowledge and expertise. So
that's one of my goals, is to buy games and get into genres that I never played, or anything and
Should
learn them.
totally should, because I've started doing that maybe like I think I pretty much started doing that when I started doing features at Twin Infinite like a year or two ago.
Mm.
I was like, I need to make sure I can get feature ideas for every big release. So I pretty much made it my goal to play at least like the big popular games, at least try it out once. And it turns out being more good than bad, because a lot of these games, some of my favorite games of all time now, like games I would not have played, like on my own, because I played like Sekiro, for example, last year, and I love that game. Well, 2 years ago now. Sekiro is like my game of the year actually that year. I think.
I need to finish Sekiro.
Yeah,
Sekiro.
it's good. It's good. So that was my first like Soulsborne game. So I was like, hey, I'm just gonna try this. I'm like, oh shit, this is really good. And now I'm playing Demon Souls. So it can lead you to like, finding games you think you wouldn't like, and you'll probably end up falling in love with it.
Dungeon Master on NES was my first Souls game. Look it up, everybody. You'll be like,
is it like a dungeon crawler kind of thing?
I think so. It's like everything is on one stage, and you go through these different doors to going up through the dungeon. But it's just like, it's kind of like one note. But if you die and everything, it got some fantastic box art. But like if you die, you got to start at the beginning, like straight. Everything is like no continues. You lose everything. A Dungeon Master on NES.
Okay, I gotta see this box art now. Let's see the box art. Oh, and that's cool. You get into like first-person fights, like kind of like the Etrian Odyssey series.
Yeah,
that is a pretty cool box art. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, you are host of the Positive Players podcast. Can you tell us all about it?
Yeah, that is my podcast that I created last year because COVID sucked, and I had the idea popping in my head for like a while now about wanting to start a podcast, because like everyone has one at this point. And I just kind of wanted to, have something else like under my belt, just some experience. And yeah, I kind of just did it to talk to people about not only video games, but just like how this year, how 2020 like affected them personally. It wasn't like all about that. It was more like, hey, what's your favorite game? What got you into games? Similar to like this podcast a little bit, like a one-on-one show, a one-on-one show. It was cool. I had like Janet Garcia, who used to work at IGN. I had a lot of good friends of mine that I've known for a while, who I got to see like face-to-face for the first time, and kind of like just got to learn about them, have like, just off-the-wall, funny conversations about whatever. I just didn't want it to be like a deep analysis about games or like talking about any negative stuff. It was like, hey, positivity. That was like the theme. I did 10 episodes last year, and I haven't done any more. I do plan on bringing it back this year, but yeah, podcasts are hard. It's hard to put one out every week. I don't know how podcasters do it, to be honest. Like I'm like, especially hosting, it's a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. And I was like, it was almost like an interview every week, and it would stress me out. So I'm thinking of like a different format for the next like batch of episodes that I decide to do. I'm not sure yet. I just don't want it to be like so rigid and like this is the interview sort of thing. I want it to be more free form, like conversational, if anything.
I host multiple podcasts. Like back in the day, I was doing like almost like 5 podcasts, hosting and co-hosting a week on a daily basis. So I mentioned World 1 podcast. I used to host that, but I'm a co-host when I could be there. I have my own podcast, Optional Opinion, where that show is kind of like I said when I mentioned about talking about things that's outside the video game, or like I have a discussion called like, can video games help your sex life? And I talked to a gay couple, I talked to a straight couple, a gay man, a straight man, and then I still got to do the third part, which is I got to talk to a couple like who play video games. And is it there are times like if you playing like a good game and making bets, it makes you feel a little bit naughty and stuff like that. But I also did one about talking about Yin Yang Lee, about how he wanted all these M-rated games to be banned and everything, and then you end up at the end seeing that he got like with the mafia and stuff, how he got caught up in there and everything. So it's just
Hmm.
like you tried to ban the M-rated games, but you're doing Grand Theft Auto M-rated stuff.
He's living an M-rated life.
Right. Um, I did a discussion about Columbine RPG should it been released, and I kind of said that it should have been. We should have been able to play it and get an idea of what these creators were thinking of, because even though it's a tragic event and it was kind of put into a video game form, I think that game could have spoke to a lot of people in different ways, and then instead of just being that, oh, you're making money, which they weren't, they were just doing an indie game. You're taking something that's tragic and making a game out of it, like it's something a mockery or just or somebody else supposed to play this stuff. And I kind of do different stuff like that, and it's a one man's podcast, so uh when you've been doing it for years, you kind of get into the routine of doing stuff like that and everything. And to me, it's fun hosting. I love hosting podcasts. If anyone need me to host anything, I'll go in and because I think I've been doing this for like doing up my own podcast and hosting the podcast. I've been doing it for 6 years.
Yeah, at that point, I feel like it's second nature to you, you know?
Exactly. And definitely when it's a new podcast and no one knows how things gonna turn out, I'll start it and just be like kind of trying to set the tone and set the personality, and then everybody just come in. It just feels natural. You sometimes when you listen to podcasts, you be like, is that natural? Is do you believe everybody's really talking and stuff, or they just making points like they all got notes, reading
Yeah.
their notes, and then going home after? No, when you listen to our podcast, you may be mad at me, you may love me or anything, but everything feels natural. Everybody laughs, everybody has a good time, and different conversations come up that you didn't expect. Me and my friend Corey, we did a Nintendo. We have a Nintendo podcast, and we're gonna get to the last question, then I'll let you go. We He was just like, I don't know what we're gonna do about the show. I don't know what we're gonna talk about this episode. And we talked about the Wii U, and we talked about, I think, Breath of the Wild and just some other games. But we stood on the Breath of the Wild, and when we got done talking, recording the show, he was just like, how did we do this? I'm just like, because we were natural. We talked about Breath of the Wild and some other stuff. But I'm like, but when we have natural conversations, all that's not being recorded, it's the same thing where we're doing podcasts. So
This is the best podcast to listen to, because I can't stand a podcast where it's like you said, like it sounds like two robots just talking to each other about like they're not really saying their real opinions, and it kind of just like they're rushing things along. They don't want to like stray off topic for too long. I'm like, that's like the best parts of podcasts, and they stray off topic, personally, because like it goes off the rails and it's chaotic, but it's always like a good time, you know?
yeah, me and my friend, our theme is World 1-1 podcast. We're professionally unprofessional. So
Yeah, that
um,
sounds like me too.
uh, that is true. What is your favorite snack? We're going to end this episode. I always love to ask my guests, because I used to ask my guests what was their favorite cereal. Uh, but now I just like, what is your favorite snack? I know we talked about hot dogs in the beginning, but like and ramen and stuff. But what is your go-to snack?
Yeah, I saw this question earlier and I like looked at it, but I couldn't think of one at the time. So I'm like, oh, just like when it comes to me. So so a snack, I mean, to me, I have a favorite fruit, but I wouldn't
Okay,
consider that like a snack,
you can
really.
consider it as a snack if you want to.
That's
That's fine.
a pomegranates are like my favorite things in the
Really?
world. Yes, and then like snacks would be like I love popcorn and like pistachios, like shelled pistachios,
Uh-huh.
sour gummy worms, but I don't eat those anymore because they fucking like rot my teeth. So I have them like once a year. I feel like now I just can't eat them.
I never had a pomegranate, the fruit actually, but when Seven Up was the first drink to do that flavor, And I was always buying those 7-Up flavors. They don't make it no more. I don't see it no more. But when pomegranate was big in the soda kind of market, 7-Up was the best because I can't drink 7-Up cherry. I don't taste no cherry in 7-Up.
Yeah, yeah, and pomegranates are weird because I can't have them all the time because they're not available all the time. Like they'll show up in grocery stores like a couple of months out of the year. So it's like when I see them in stores, like you can ask my boyfriend. I'm like, oh my god, they have pomegranates! Like, oh my god, I have to get like 3, 4.
Exactly.
They're so good. Like, and they take so long to open up. But like, I have a ritual where I cut it open, I sit down, and I like peel I take out every little seed, and I put it in a cup, and then I throw the pomegranate away, and I just sit down and eat them all like out of a cup or something, or out of a bowl, instead of like taking it apart and eating it like one by one. I don't know. That's just my thing. But they're so good when they're like nice and fresh and ripe and juicy, and not sour. Underrated fruit, in my opinion.
But it's a lot of people didn't notice it until it just appeared and be like, "What is this fruit?" And people
this red thing.
Exactly.
I heard people call it Chinese apple when I was a kid. I heard that a lot.
I didn't know pomegranate until 7-Up did it. I've our stores around in my area, they never sold it. No fruit market sold it or anything.
Yeah, I feel like when I was like a kid, I never seen it in my life, and then one day my mom started eating them a lot. And I'm like, what is that? I like it. And then she was mad because I would always eat hers. So I started getting my own.
All right. Well, Greysun, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and plug anything that you want to.
Sure. Yeah. This is my first time plugging GameRant, so I'm so not used to it. I'm like, Twinfinite. I mean, no, I don't work there anymore. But still, check out Twinfinite. They do a lot of cool stuff too. But no, you can find my guides at GameRant.com. It's writing lots of guides. So if you want to find out how to get a shiny Snivy in Pokemon Go, I just wrote that.
Nice.
Random Assassin's Creed quests and stuff. You can also follow me on Twitter at Greysun Morales. It's just my first name and last name, nothing fancy. And then, you can follow the podcast, the Positive Players Podcast, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and pretty much anywhere else you would get your podcast. And yeah, that's it. That's it pretty much. That's all my things.
All right. And if you need me as a guest, I'm available.
Oh, for sure. I will totally bring you on. Like when I bring that back, you'll be on my list for sure.
Yes. You guys can find me on Twitter at ThatRetroCode. You can check more Boss Rush content at bossrushgames.com. Check out Arsenal X, Crossroads, our PlayStation podcast. Arsenal X is our Xbox podcast. Nintendo Power Block, Boss Rush Games, Recap, Talk the Walk, and more podcasts that we have on. And check out some of our writings at bossrushgames.com. And like I said earlier, check out World 11 Podcast at podbean.com. With that, everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Greysun. We might be inviting you back on later on in this year because last year we did our first ever Pride panel, and I would love to have you on for this year for our Pride panel.
That sounds incredible.
So yes, it's going to be an event because we didn't get to celebrate Pride or anything, but it was our first time doing it, and me and our other co-hosts, we had so much fun, and I would love to have you back. I would love to have you on that Pride panel.
I would have someone else that would probably be interested in doing that. If you needed someone else in the industry that's also gay.
Yes, the more the merrier. So
yeah, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I had a really good time.
Thank you for coming on. And everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and as always, let's continue to play video games and be better to one another. As always, be you, be more, and be better. With that, everybody, we'll see you next time on 1v1. Bye, everybody.
Bye.